Hi, it's Hans at ahappierman.com. Today's topic is another old friend died. Well, I have quite a few videos of my old friends dying. I'm at that age, that mid-50s, where guys my age start dying, even though they say we're all living so much longer. I guess I'm not so sure. I think a few people live a bit longer. Most of us will die at the normal time, and a good share of us will die what we would call early. So this friend of mine, my age, 50, I think he's 55, he died, right? He died last Sunday. I got the news through the text, and then the next day there was more news shared about some of the details, and then as the week wore on, I got onto the funeral home site and studied that, and so he's an old friend. He was a friend from grade school and high school. I'd only seen him maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 30 some odd years since high school. It's just as I left high school, and as we both left high school, our paths just totally diverged, right? He stayed in our hometown he was a farm background and did farm related work. I went to college and left my little hometown and didn't really spend too much time in that hometown other than going back to visit family and friends. But when you go back to visit, it's not like you're there for months on end. You go back for when they're in college, and come back for a few weeks at break, or I guess the first few summers I'd go back to work. But anyway, like I said, the paths diverged, so there's no reason to keep in contact, even though in high school and grade school, yeah, we were pretty good friends, and we both played the saxophone, that instrument, with the long, and in the band, so we sat next to each other, and we paddled around with the saxophone and had a good time and joked around, and there's a certain amount of fooling around that young guys do, and that was very fun, and yeah, very, very sad. He was married, had 3 kids, from what I can understand, probably a really good dad, very happy, very easygoing, very nice guy, extremely loud and boisterous in school. When I saw him over the years, I think he was still the same way, loud and boisterous, willing to crack jokes and give people a hard time, gently, opinionated, that type of a guy, just a good old-fashioned, good old boy, right, kind of guy you like. He was really a big, powerful guy. We had that in common too. We both loved to, when our school got weights in our senior year, we both loved to lift weights, and he was just, we were both big and strong from just natural. And then he was a farmer, so he was bigger and stronger than me. But I tried to keep up. But yeah, it's when your old friends die, it makes you think you better get darn going with your own life. There's no guarantee, there was a nice write-up for him on the funeral home website, a lot of the things he enjoyed doing, and as I was reading it, I was thinking, yeah, those are all pretty nice things. Sounds like he had a pretty good, if he did some of those things over the time, I would imagine it would have been a good life. So I'm hoping he had a nice, happy, enjoyable life with minimal problems and stress. I'm hoping so. If not, it's pretty tragic. I don't think he needed my book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man with a 3-Step System. I think his wife was very, very nice. I guess I have no way to know for sure. That's a big thing. If you got a wonderful wife, yeah, your life is going to be much better than if if you don't. So if that's the problem, you know, check out my book, Leave Your Wife, Become a Happier Man, with the 3-step system, available on the allhappierman.com website. But yeah, when your old friends die, it makes me think, I better get going. And you know, truthfully, I have got going. The death is constantly on my mind. I read the funeral home, and then this funeral home page, it had all kinds of other people associate from that little town, and they link up even if they didn't necessarily live in this little town their whole life. Their name still shows up there. So I went back through a number of years, you know, recounting all the people I've known who died. And there's, you know, it's mostly a lot of old people, you know, 80s, 90s, you know, plenty in the 70s, some in the 60s. And of course, I'm more curious about the younger ones. And, you know, the funeral home doesn't explain, you know, why they died, you know, the cause. That would be interesting information to me. You know, that's the kind of thing you got to dig for. And like this friend, he's an old friend, and I have no relationship with anybody left in his family, so I got no way to dig into the details, right? Which, yeah, what business is it of mine? So, sounded like there was some botchment of the of his treatment plan, you know, little town, you know, maybe the doctors and the clinics and the hospital aren't as up on things as they should be. You know, when I saw him, the thing he died of, that'd be the first thing I'd check. Because it's obvious, you know, he's a very large man, carried a lot of extra weight, fat weight, plus he just loved to eat, so, and loved to eat good food and junk food. So, common theme, right? I've talked about other friends. But, you know, I've had other friends who are very, very, very lean, and they died too, so it isn't always an equal. Fat isn't a death sentence. It is neither lean, it's not a lifesaver. So anyway, I guess I thank you for letting me kind of ramble on about this fellow. Maybe just a couple of stories. He, like I said, we had the saxophone, so we would be in band practice, and like in grade school, we'd sneak into the kitchen around the band practice time and scarf down a bunch of the good desserts. Our grade school lunches were basically horrible most of the time, except for the desserts were basically wonderful most of the time. So yeah, getting a hold of those desserts was really something else. Now, he had no fear of sneaking in there and doing it, and of course he was a loud, boisterous troublemaker kind of a guy, and I was not. I only did it because he was there, right? And if I didn't do it, you know, sometimes boys encourage other guys to do what they shouldn't do. But if you think about it, just having a few desserts today rather than tomorrow, is that really a crime? I don't think so. I don't think so. Neither did he. So we did it. And anyway, it's funny thinking about it to me. And he, you know, he was the kind of guy who was always talking and joking around and fooling around in class, so the teachers were always exasperated with him, you know, trying to get him to not talk so much, not talk so loud, you know, study, keep your nose in the book, but he wasn't that type of a person. So, yeah, if I was a teacher, that he would be hard to keep him going, right, because of that isn't what he's interested in. That isn't what he's interested in at all. So it sounds like from the few, you know, that once he got out of high school, he got involved with the things he was interested in. And I hope he did those things. And I think if you could could take a little bit of that lesson home with you about what are you interested in, both in how you make your living, how you earn it, and the things you do in your spare time. You're going to have a darn good life. And I think my old friend did. It just ended, you know, probably 10, maybe 20 years too soon. But I think he had a good life. And if this means anything to you, if this strikes a chord, if you are at a point in your life where you're not having a good life, where you don't really enjoy the heck out of most of your life, well, what are you waiting for, right? What are you waiting for? What makes you think you're going to live so long that you'll have some kind of a good life? And that's the main lesson I get, why I'm so fascinated with death and the obituaries and knowing who dies and what they died from and how good and bad their lives were. That's what fascinates me about this whole thing, because it's like a shock to my system when I get the news so-and-so died, and I'm like, oh my God, I just saw this fellow at a party. Another common friend of ours, a good friend of mine, had a high school graduation party for his son. I went up there, and a bunch of my old friends were there. We had a whale of a great time partying, and then this fellow was here too, because he wasn't like close with that friend, but his kids were, right? So he was there. So it was like one of the greatest party nights of my life, right? I get to talk and joke around with this old friend who've only seen a couple times, and he was the kind of guy you would just, I hadn't seen him in 10, 15 years. He just kind of started talking like whatever we were talking about 10 or 15 years before. He just had a great memory too, you know. Plus, he had no need to, no filters, no needs for formalities, and we had a nice chat, and it was very enjoyable, and yeah, and I missed staying, you know, close to him all these years, and I miss him now that he's gone. You know, you always are hoping all your old friends that when you finally retire and you got some time and you're kind of out socializing on a more regular basis, that you'll get in touch with all these people you'd like to get in touch with. But again, there's no guarantee that they're going to be there for that. They'll be dead, they'll be sick, they'll have Alzheimer's, they'll have dementia, they'll be moved across the country, they may never have time, and you may never have time. So I know it's a little bit of a morbid, depressing topic, but to me, I don't really find it depressing. I find it more inspiring in the sense, man, I'm really happy I knew this fellow. I'm really happy we both played the saxophone, and we both had some fun, and we enjoyed the recess, we enjoyed the things we enjoyed. Very happy to hear that he had a pretty nice life, and I wish him, you know, luck in the beyond. And I'm certainly, if there's a beyond, I'd gladly pal around with him again at that time and play the saxophone together and lift weights together and eat desserts together and joke around together. So give that idea some thought, all for now.